What's going on, guys, and welcome back to Bourbon of the Week. My name's Chris. I'm going to be your host for today. Now, I've been listening to you guys. I've been reading the analytics. You guys don't like that sophisticated, scripted out, type of review that everybody's putting out. You like it a little less sophisticated, a little less scripted, a little less robotic. So that's what we're going to try and give you from here on out. But everybody knows before we get started, we have the Bardstown Fusion Series, my first Bardstown bourbon, so I'm excited to try this. Time for the traditional sip. Different. So we are going to try and be a little less scripted, a little less robotic for you. But for this one, we have Bardstown Bourbon Company Fusion Series. This is the number 4. And I think the coolest thing is how transparent they are about everything on all of their bottles. This one right here, right on the side, gives you the blend percentage, the origin, the age of that origin, and then the mash bill that goes along with it as well. So this is 40% Kentucky bourbon, 13-year aged with a mash bill of 74% corn, 18% rye, 8% malted barley. Then it also has a 3-year Bardstown product, so 3 years of their own stuff at 11%. That comes in at 60% corn, 40% rye. Then we have another Bardstown 3-year at 15%, coming in at 78% corn, 10% rye, 12% malted barley. And last but not least, a 4-year Bardstown product coming in at 34% of this bottle, which is 70% corn, 18% rye, 12% malted barley. Well, what does that break down to? What's the math? I did it. I calculated, carry the 1, the 2. I haven't done math in so long, but I wrote it down. Let's figure it out. So with all of these different things, this comes in at 71.7% corn, 19.22% rye, and 9.08 malted barley, which is a crazy mash bill if you ask me. They usually don't break down that sophisticatedly. But when you're using 4 different mash bills to create your bottle here, you're going to get some weird numbers. But that breaks us down. Let's just call it 20% rye. Kind of a high rye, which actually surprises me a lot. This doesn't taste like it has a lot of rye in it. We'll get into the tasting notes in a little, but we do start with drinkability on this. And the drinkability on this is absolutely fantastic. 94.8, 94.9%. And there's no ethanol kick to this at all. Even when you nose this, normally it makes your hairs stick up on your nose. There's no alcohol content to this at all. Very smooth, very easy drinking. I'm actually very surprised with that high rye and we'll call it a middle proof. It doesn't quite break 100, that it doesn't have more of a kick to this. No Kentucky hug at all. Very sweet, which allows you to not get any of that burn. This is absolutely fantastic. Drinkability on this, we're going to take one more sip and then we'll figure it out. Yeah, literally nothing. If Marissa tried this, she would be able to drink this. It almost tastes like a juice. Like there's literally no alcohol content. Kind of dangerous, so be careful with this one. I'm going to give it a great score. I'm going to give it like a 9.4 when it comes to drinkability, just because it's not quite up there in the 100 proof yet, so I don't want to give it anything quite higher than that. But that might be one of the highest scores that we've given for drinkability, and I just think it belongs up there. 9.4 is where we're going to put it. So as you know, next thing we're going to do on this is going to be taste, and this is one of the most unique bourbons that I've tasted outside of the Woodford Reserve Double Oak. Had a crazy different experience with that one. It didn't even taste like a bourbon. This one is definitely a bourbon. You can tell that it's a bourbon, but at the same time, it's just so well balanced and so many different flavors coming at you. From that 13-year aged bottle that you're getting in there, which is your smoke and your oak that gives you all those flavors, to all the younger bottles in here, which are giving you all that sweetness that comes along with it. And even at a 19% rye, I don't really get any type of rye spice with this. The biggest notes that I'm picking out of this right away, and again, I'm not the best at this yet, cherries, very, very much cherry. You even smell a little bit of the cherry on the front. Cinnamon, definitely cinnamon. I get a little bit of a toffee note. Again, I go back to that Russell's Reserve single barrel when I think of toffee. I get a little bit of a toffee note in this. And then you almost get, which makes me think there's like a Beam family relationship to this. You get like a nuttiness there at the end. So that's what I'm getting. I'm getting cherries. I'm getting a little bit of a nuttiness. Cinnamon for sure, which is weird because it's not like a rye cinnamon or a rye spice or anything, but it's more just like a cinnamon powder, like the smell of a cinnamon. And then at the same time, you're still getting maybe even a little bit of, now that I think about it, like a syrupy, like a syrup flavor, like a pancake syrup almost. And you're getting every time you sip this, you're getting something different. Cherries, syrup, nuttiness at the end. You still get the oak and the smoke from that 13-year bottle. You're literally trying to get so many different flavors out of this. It's kind of crazy. And it's kind of crazy that they can put all of these flavors in there. Obviously, that's what they're trying to do here with a fusion. That's what they're doing. They're fusing all these different bottles and flavors and mash bills together, and it just makes, quite frankly, an amazing drinking experience. Now the question is it my favorite? Probably not my favorite. I'm still more of a traditional bourbon guy, but this is the closest thing that you're going to get to a traditional bourbon that's going to include all of those flavor profiles. You can't really get 6, 7, 8 different crazy tasting flavor profiles while at the same time still holding on to that traditional bourbon taste. And I think they do that so well because they put in that 40% 13-year aged. So you're getting a Kentucky straight bourbon, most of this bottle at 13 years aged. So those lower 3-year, 4-year aged bottles or 3-year, 4-year aged whiskeys that are in this aren't going to really pull themselves out above that 13-year aged bottle. But at the same time, you can definitely pick up those flavor notes. I love it. I like it. I don't love it. I think it's delicious. I think it's an experiment gone right. I think they know what they're doing, and I think they're going to get better at doing it, especially as they continue to put out more of these Fusion series and continue to grow their own products as well, which we'll get into with our Bourbon of the Week, our Bourbon Bomb of the Week, because Bardstown's a crazy company. But let's get into taste on this. Taste, finally, I'll give you a score. Let's throw it at like an 8.8. I think it's absolutely delicious. I think that you can definitely get a little bit of that younger taste in there, but that 13-year really holds this together well. And as you all know, that's going to lead us into price on this. And the price on this is not too bad at all. You're talking about $55. I got this from a friend in Delaware who goes down all the time. $55 is not a bad price. If you're talking about 40% of this bottle, we'll just say almost half of this bottle is a 13-year aged bourbon. Now, if you went out and you bought 100% 13-year aged bourbon, you would probably be paying, I mean, we have an 18-year that I guess Knob Creek puts out the 15-year, which isn't too bad. But $55 is not a bad ask for this at all. If you ask me, it's an awesome experience. If you haven't had a Bardstown Fusion Series, I recommend going out and buying one. If you can find it for $55, pull the trigger all day. The price on this is not bad when you're talking about some of these younger bourbons that are coming out at $40, $45. Even some older bourbons that are pushing like the 100. We just did what? The Elijah Craig 18-year was $150 MSRP or $130 MSRP. $55 for this Fusion Series, and they're only going to get better with them. If you haven't had any of the Fusion Series, try it. I do want to try the Discovery Series as well. That'll be a whole different conversation. But as for this, $55, great drinkability, great taste. Nothing really wrong with this bottle at all. So for $55, I would say pull the trigger. I'm going to give it like an 8.8 as well when it comes to price on this. So while we add all these scores up, let's send it over to this week's Bourbon Bomb of the Week so we can learn a little bit more about Bardstown Distillery. So for this week's Bourbon Bomb of the Week, we're going to go over Bardstown Distillery because they got a pretty sweet process going on over there. Basically, they seem like, now I've never been there, I've never done anything with whiskey distilling myself, but they seem like an open source whiskey distiller. Basically, anybody who wants to can come in there, they can tell about their process. They're in the forefront of the technology sector as far as whiskey distilling goes. So many people are stuck in the old ways of straight column still or straight pot still and add heat and distillate and all this other things that they're just stuck in that process. Where Bardstown seems to be like on the scientific end of things. What else can we do? What other measures can we push? What other ways can we distill, mix, blend, all these kinds of things? Now, they're not only putting out their own product. Obviously, they source a little bit for their 13-year-old product here, but they're giving products to companies like High West. They're giving products to Jefferson. They're giving products to Bellmead and a few other major brands that you probably didn't even know were coming out of Bardstown. So what this allows them to do, they have 3 different master distillers for this product alone, a couple different blenders that they're using. So it's awesome to see the all-inclusiveness here. The transparency is awesome as well, the fact that they put it all right here on the label. Not many other labels are doing that. So with transparency, all-inclusive, where they include everybody in the whiskey world to try to make a new product, it's just kind of an awesome experience, and you can see what the whiskey/bourbon community can do when everybody gets together to try to work on one product. And quite frankly, it works because I'm going to tell you the score now. Let's get back to it. That's right, this did score well. This comes in at a 9.0, which drops it in right into second place behind Henry McKenna 10-year, and it's an absolutely fantastic spot for it. Couldn't be happier for this bottle. Bardstown on the forefront of the technology sector when it comes to whiskey and bourbon. They know everybody in the game, so they're getting them involved, and that gives you an amazing bottle like this. I hope to try more of the Bardstown product as well as the Discovery series like I mentioned before. Maybe even a Fusion 3, a Fusion 2, or a Fusion 1 if I can get my hands on it. Kind of see if there's any crazy differences between them. But that's where we're going to leave it today, 9.0 on this Bardstown. But if you don't already, check me out at Bourbon of the Week on Instagram. Every Tuesday we drop an image of the bourbon that we're going to review that very next day. If you guess the closest score to what I give it, you'll get a shout out on the channel as well as entered in a monthly drawing. We also have a new Patreon link set up and a Discord set up as well, so you guys can come chat with me all the time. Let me know what you're drinking. It's awesome. Scroll down to the description, click those links, join the Patreon, join the Discord. But that's going to be it for us today. Make sure you don't drink and drive. Drink responsibly. Stay healthy, stay happy, stay drinking.